All right, everyone, welcome aboard. How is everyone doing? Well, probably no one's here yet, but I am. I'm ready to roll. As ready as I'm going to be anyway. So I taught a course this morning, so I've had a brief lunch break. Make my hair look somewhat respectable. My too long hair. Kim said, "Do you want me to cut it this weekend?" And I said, "I don't have time." So I'll have to wait. Start that some other point soon, maybe next weekend. So we are live and rolling. What else is there to say? So as usual, you guys are cooking in the Facebook page. That is amazing to see. So well done, everybody. What else? I often have a whole bunch of notes to tell you about. Hello, Mira. But I actually don't have a lot of things to share. So in terms of sort of an agenda or anything. So I know that some of you guys have already done or been working on your message in a bottle campaign for Oakville seniors. That's really lovely. Thank you, thank you, thank you, everybody. Hello, Mira. Hello, Jane. As always, our prompts are optional. And so if that's something you want to work on, the deadline is today. So I know, being a graphic designer, I think, okay, so it's today. So that's until 11:59:59. So hello, Gerda. Welcome, everybody.
Marion says hi.
Hello, Marion. And so I think, Marion, I think you've already sent something off, right? For the message in a bottle campaign. So well done. Hey, Val, welcome back. Our frequent flyer points leader.
Yeah, it's so nice seeing
Val. Yeah, Val, you're at our Collage Jam, Kim's virtual studio parties. You've been taking our courses. So yeah, thank you so much.
Françoise wants to know if you had time for lunch.
I did. Yes. Thank you, Françoise. Yeah. Françoise was in my morning class through VAM. Hello, Philippa.
Hi, Marion. I'm glad you heard my voice.
Sure. And Philippa, I will talk a little bit about message in a bottle. So you should see the details that you need in the email I sent you last week. Shout out to Diane Leslie, who's one of my longtime students, and she's been taking my collage course, and she drew it to my attention. It's an initiative, I think, of the city of Oakville to have artworks sent to that email address, which is in the email that I sent you guys. And there are some size restrictions, so make sure it fits within that. File size, not actual size for your photograph. And the idea is to send we're all in isolation, right? But seniors are the most isolated of all. And so, their homes are in lockdown, or if they're at home, I think it's mostly homes that they're concerned about. Because they're the most vulnerable of all of us, right? Long-term care homes, seniors residences, etc. Yeah. So they can't have their grandkids visit. They can't have their kids visit. They're seeing the same care staff, and probably they're overworked, etc., etc. So they are really isolated, like way more so than us, right? And a bunch of them probably don't have necessarily the technological access that we do. So the idea is to send them some art to know that we still care about them. So it's a really great initiative, and I think more places are doing it. And I also sent another link to one where you can actually send your physical artwork, and they will pair it up, and that's in the city of Toronto. And if you can't make the deadline for tonight, I bet that if you Googled art for seniors, you could probably find other people, other organizations doing the same kind of thing, because it's just a beautiful thing to do. So yeah, you Val, you could definitely send it through your phone as long as the file is the right size.
I'm actually.
Oh, okay,
writing her
okay.
about that.
Kim's answering you. Okay, perfect. Because
There,
Kim
I
is.
just have.
Yeah, great. So, yeah. So.
Shall I tell you who else is saying hi?
Please do,
Before
Kim.
we move on. So Kathleen says hi to everybody,
Hello, Kathleen.
including us. Joy says hi, Cal. I'm making pea soup today.
Ooh, that's an excellent thing to be doing. Kim is a big fan of pea soup, and for a while we couldn't get her brand of choice, Habitant. So she was thinking, I'm going to have to learn to make pea soup. And so she found some recipes, and just before she started, I managed to get some pea soup. But
just in the nick of time, because I've been too busy.
Whoops. Yeah, so.
But I will make some.
Making some soup at home, homemade soup is the best, isn't it? So.
Ricky says, hi all from Philadelphia.
Hey, Ricky. Yay.
And Sparkle Girl is K, right?
Sparkle Girl is K, right?
She
K?
says hi.
Yeah, hi, K.
And Adele says
Yep.
hi, and she wanted to know more about the theme.
Yep.
Rena.
Hello, Rena.
And
Annie. I see Annie in the list there. She was with me this morning as well. She's having an all-Cal day. I hope it's okay.
Marsha's here.
Hello, Marcia. Yay.
Judy Nugent, hi from
Judy.
Mississauga.
Yep.
I've been trying to construct a bottle out of tissue paper. It's just a little frustrating.
Right. Yes. Yes. A flat one or an actual 3-dimensional one? Hopefully flat.
Sounds dimensional.
Yeah. I mean, tissue paper is not the sturdiest material to create an actual 3-dimensional bottle. So
I need some paper mache paste.
Yes. Some paper mache paste or some acrylic medium or something. Yeah.
Joy says a rendezvous here for seniors.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. A bunch of us are seniors, right? So, yeah. So, but looking out for each other, right? Which is great. So, I've had a crazy week because I've got 2 courses launching and 1 continuing this week. So instead of 1, I've got 3 coming up. I did 1 this morning. I got another one on Wednesday and another one on Thursday. So I've been all over I've been at home, but my brain's been everywhere. So what I have just the slimmest germ or hair of an idea for what I'm going to do, and for Message in a Bottle, and I'm hopefully going to get it done in time. So what have I got in mind? Like way back, like when Kim and I were first together we bought this book.
You bought it for me for Christmas, I think.
See, I can't even remember. And it really has been in our shelf for a long time since. Amish, The Art of the Quilt. And as you can tell, it's a huge book. The slipcase is about 14 inches square. And it's one of those objets that's just so gorgeous. Amish quilts, they have a certain austerity and beauty and design quotient that is really stunning. And I was thinking that the Venn diagram of comfort and something that would be familiar to women live longer than men, so oftentimes a lot of the people in old age homes, etc., are women. And my design interest, and I thought Amish Amish quilts. So I thought what I'd do is take a look through this, and I haven't done it yet because I haven't had time. I thought I'd take a look through and see if I could find a design that was interesting but doable. And then I would figure out what colors are in it, and then do some magazine clippings and try and do an approximation. Now I might do a crop of it, like a detail, but I haven't really even got there yet. So I thought I'd take a flip through that. So I'm going to push this back a little bit so you can at least see me flipping through. And I'll ask Kim if she's got anything from you guys any questions, any comments. How's everyone doing this week? You coping okay? I noticed this morning I had my first class online with VAM, and no one had any technical difficulties. That's the first time I've started an online class with no one having technical difficulties, and everyone was sort of chill. Like, I think we're sort of adjusting to some extent. Now, that said, we're also, Kim and I have heard from a few people now about people they know who are getting COVID and going into hospital or recovering, fortunately, a lot of them. But yeah, starting to
the numbers are high enough.
The numbers are high enough that it's starting to enter our consciousness. It's not just, I mean, it's been in our consciousness, but you know what I mean?
Touch our lives.
Starting to touch our lives. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, Kim. So
Cheryl says, hi from Coburg. First time
Hey, Cheryl.
I'm going to attempt a collage with images only.
Oh, excellent.
And lots more hellos. Annie.
Hello, Annie.
Mia.
Mia, welcome back. Yeah, Mia's another frequent flyer.
Gunta.
Hey, Gunta.
Catherine. Do you know Catherine Brown?
Do I know you, Catherine Brown?
We're very happy to see you here, but if we know you in any way, please let us know.
Yeah, did you emailed me this morning or yesterday, I think, and I put you on the list. So welcome. Yeah, welcome aboard. Have I taught you somewhere? I'm getting to the point where now I can't remember everyone I've taught. Well, I've been there for quite a while. If truth be told, yes. Faces I might do better, but names I definitely can't keep track of them all. So I'm going to turn this down just a little bit away. So my face might get clipped, but I think it's also worth taking a look at, yeah, how can I got some reflection issues because it's a nice glossy book, but
it tilted away, stand it on its bottom and tilt it away from the window. Block some of the window light. That's better.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna take a quick flip through. I'll bend this down a little bit. There we go. Because really, some of these quilts are jaw-dropping, and the color sophistication in them is really, and the scale changes. So it's quilts are a fairly rigid, in some ways, system. And in other ways, they allow for infinite variation.
I'm surprised you haven't done one yet, Cal. Sounds like right up your alley.
It is right up my alley. I do some paintings that have things in common with them. Like, look at this one. Oh, it's just gorgeous. And so it puts the lie to the fact that, people without artistic training can't do sophisticated art.
But they're trained in their tradition.
Yeah, it is a long tradition. Yeah, exactly.
So
I don't know how big these reproductions are, but yeah, see, they're about a foot, which is just so sumptuous and not the kind of thing you find so much anymore in these internet days. Oh, just look at the zing of those, fuchsia squares.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's like a Jack Bush painting.
Yeah, Kim says it's like a Jack Bush painting, and it really is. I haven't had this book out for, I'm guessing, at least 15 years. I love this. It's so geometrically austere, and yet, and you probably can't make it out, but within each of these colors is blind stitching of very floral, which is an exquisite contrast to the austerity of the color and layout. This makes me think of, who's that artist? Ad Reinhardt, and his paintings of really, really dark.
Hold it up closer
Yeah.
so they can see the color a little better.
I don't know if that's coming across reasonably well. Getting glare, but
yeah, it did adjust. So
yeah. So that gives you at least an idea. So I'm gonna put that down and see what I can find.
I think you bought it from that fabulous bookstore that used to be on Front Street near where we worked.
Oh,
I
yes.
fell in love with this book there.
Yeah, we lived in a worked.
Just about lived.
It was sadly we often were catching the last subway home from work, so we did live there.
We'd walk home.
Or we'd walk home, yeah, at like 1 a.m. Down at Front and Church. And Nicholas Hoare, that's what it was. It was a great bookstore there, and we would go in there and salivate over beautiful design titles and books like this. So it seems it's organized by sort of quintessential designs.
So are you looking first to find a structural idea or a color idea, or what's your...
I'm probably looking for a bit of both. Excuse me, a bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because I only have so much brain capacity right now. I'm a little overwhelmed with all the things I'm juggling. So I'm going to probably pick something and more or less replicate it. But of course I won't be, because I'll be using found magazine stuff rather than absolute color, and I won't be like mixing color to absolutely nail it down. So it then becomes a question of how detailed, or do I take a small detail, or do I pick a simpler design? And I think
Annie Bentley says she's a quilter.
Ooh.
She loves the Amish attitude that imperfection is a reminder that we are not perfect and that's okay. Maybe she's thinking she might make a virtual friendship quilt.
Ooh. So I don't know much about quilting, Annie. Can you tell me what a friendship quilt is?
Rebecca says hi. Sarah
Hello, Rebecca.
says hi. Glad to be here again. I might try a crazy quilt square.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's a great idea. In fact, I just flipped to, and this is a crazy quilt. It's crazy in some respects. It's very contained crazy. Each one of these squares is crazy, and then everything else is very perfect.
Catherine says she's a friend of Joy Holland.
Ah, okay, right. Welcome.
So glad you could join us, Catherine.
Yeah.
Mia says, I just posted some of my doodles on Facebook as I am collage challenge stuck at the moment, but not giving up on collage yet.
Oh, you're allowed to go somewhere else for a little reprieve if collage is not your normal thing, or if it feels sometimes overwhelming. I actually find things like painting more difficult than collaging. So collage is sort of my happy place. That said, sometimes I drive myself crazy with it too. So
that's like me with jelly printing, right? What we do with collage. Playful.
Yeah, it's my playful place.
Yeah. Elaine Windsor says, hi Cal, it is
Hello,
my first
Elaine.
time joining the jam. I'm
Yay.
late signing on. Was there a theme?
So this week there is a theme, and you may or may not have time to make the deadline, because the deadline is
It's a project.
it's a project that has a deadline, and I'll explain why. But the deadline is sort of midnight tonight, and so I let people on the jam know ahead of time, so that they could work beforehand. It is called Message in a Bottle, and it is an initiative of I think it's the city of Oakville. And so the email that I sent out had a link to that, and also on the Facebook group. So if you're on the Facebook group, there's also a link there, or an email that you can send a photograph of an artwork to them, and they will distribute them to seniors who are isolated. So, and I believe that's in homes for the most part, like long-term homes or seniors' residences. I don't know whether they're doing them. I don't know whether they're taking them to individuals at home. But the idea being they are the most isolated of all of us at this time. So, if you look on the Facebook page, a bunch of people have already done something and posted them. There's some beautiful, like really heartfelt, lovely images that would just, I know, would just make people's day to receive them. So.
And it can be writing too.
Yes,
right?
and
it doesn't have to be visual,
so
or it can be both.
Because this is a collage jam, we're approaching it visually, but it can be a letter as well. It can be a letter. It can be any sort of thing that can be sent via email. So probably it is letter or written or visual. It doesn't have to be collage either, right? I just thought it's a perfect opportunity for us since we are collaging.
Mia says those quilts are magnificent.
Yeah,
Otherworldly comes to mind.
Yes, they are otherworldly. I'm really liking this one, so I'm gonna flag this one.
Colors.
Yeah, the colors are so juicy. I don't know. I if I did this one, I would do a subsection. I'll probably pick like an area because that's more than I can manage. But I might pick those four, I think maybe.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
that would be nice. That
right there. Yeah. So that's what I might do. I'm gonna flag that. I'm gonna take a quick look, but I'm feeling strongly that one. So
Val says I have a book on art quilts, beautiful collages.
Yeah. And it really, you know, there's huge overlap between collage and quilting, right? I oftentimes quilters work with, you know, they organize their fabric scraps by color and by pattern and so on, and then they work with them in very much the same way. They're just sewn together rather than glued. So
Sherry says so few real-time bookstores open now.
Yeah. Sherry Racola. Hi, Sherry. Yeah, welcome aboard.
Joy says, I remember that bookstore and miss it very much. Great for browsing and inspiration. That was a classic bookstore in the finest tradition.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like it you could have picked it up and dropped it in the middle of London.
Yeah.
And it would have been perfectly at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or New York or any cosmopolitan city. In fact, it was in a cosmopolitan city.
Yes, it was. In a cosmopolitan area of a cosmopolitan city.
Oh, and there was one of our, well, there were several places we ate, because we ate out a lot then.
We ate out so much.
We ate out so much. Because we felt sorry for ourselves because we were working all hours on graphic design.
We weren't at home.
And we were never home, yeah. So not a lot of home cooking was happening. The exact opposite of right now. But there was a pizzeria, Uno, which did the Chicago-style deep dish pizzas. They were, of course, a caloric nightmare. But, oh my God, were they good.
No doubt that's how I started to put on weight.
And they had a vegetarian option, spinacoli they called it. It's like, yeah, so it's like
it must have been 1,500 calories.
Oh yeah, just because it didn't have meat didn't mean it wasn't like loaded with cheese. The crust was basically pastry and super thick.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, okay, so vegetarian, but yeah, 1 million calories per slice, you know.
Oh, but that was good.
But it was divine. It was.
Yeah, it was. Great food memories, eh?
All right, I'm just going with this one.
So Annie Bentley clarifies that usually a friendship
perfect.
quilt
Thank you. Yep.
is made from of a block from friends to celebrate the receiver. It can be themed or open. That's lovely.
So it's a collaborative effort where everyone does a small part of it given to a particular individual. Have I got that right? Yeah, that's beautiful.
Thing.
Yeah, exactly. I could see doing, like, given more time, doing something like that as a collage effort, right? Where we all contribute a section of something. That'd be kind of fun. Write that down. Because I know my brain if I don't write it down. All right. I need some scrap paper, and I just happen to have some here, fortunately. And I just realized I can't be so laissez-faire with my, I have to have more straight edges than that for what I want, so I better use a ruler. Because I want to make a tape on a little window so that I can see what the part I'm working with. That one didn't work so well. Okay, so that's not a straight edge. Which one is it? That's not the straight edge. Okay, hold that ruler down a little more firmly. All right, do I go out to that corner and then down to that? It'd be kind of fun because it would have this little,
have a quilty feeling.
Yeah. And then yeah, okay, that's the plan. Always good to know what the plan is.
You like a plan, that's true.
I do like a plan. I think we all like to sort of
I like wide open time. That's what I like. You like a plan.
I've been told.
I just never get wide open time. I think it's like a pipe dream I have. Some memory of some, probably one day I had in my life that time felt wide open.
I love the wide open creative possibilities, but I also like arriving at something I'm really excited about and knowing what it's.
Oh yeah.
What like when you strike on something, right? It's like, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And it often comes after way too much.
No, that is a great feeling. So Sherry, got to get caught up on a couple of messages.
All right.
Here.
Let
Sherry said, I started on my message in a bottle collage right when you sent out the email last Thursday.
Good for you, Sherry. Yeah, that was great. I remember that one.
I sent my collage in today and got a reply an hour later. Thanks for sharing the invite, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah, no, I when Diane sent that to me, I thought, yeah.
What was the name of that art book store? I've answered this question, but
right.
What was the name of that art book store right across from Honest Ed's? Does anyone remember? It was a rabbit hole of inspiration. So I said, David Mervish Books and Art. Is that what you're thinking of? I used to adore that place.
Yeah, that was a great store too.
Yeah.
We didn't get to that one as much because it was a different neighborhood, but when we did,
yeah,
the wallets always came out lighter and the book and the arms longer.
Well, and before I used to live in that more in that neck of the woods, so I used to go there more earlier on, before you and I were together.
Right. In the early pre-Cambrian era.
Joy, when we were talking about Uno's. She says it reminds me of Papillon on church. Thinking of food again. We went to Papillon too, not as often.
No, it was a more upscale joint.
Yeah. And Sherry said that yes, that was the bookstore she was thinking of.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna need some dark green. I'm gonna need greens, blues, red, violet, and okay. Lots of, so in fact, this piece right here is good to start, and so is that actually.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
Now what?
The first page, and I've got to figure out which side it is. Okay, that's good. Yeah, okay, so that's fine. So I have the feeling this is going to be a fair bit of research, just finding color, and then hopefully it'll all come together really fast at the end.
You know, you could just pick one block.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Just saying.
Yeah. Then you could meet the deadline.
Oh, you mean like one of those?
Yeah. Right? And that could be quite nice as a piece.
Yeah, that's too much. So this is when it pays to have an art director handy. So I'm gonna take it down from 4 down to 1, and I'll be a lot happier.
Yeah. In terms of the deadline.
Yeah, exactly. Working to deadline is the important factor. So which one of these? I like
that
this one. Yeah.
That's good.
And should I include? I think I did. I mean, centered is kind of makes sense, but it might be nice to have just those edges. What do you think? What do you think, Kim? Like include those two? Like that? I guess it feels more quilty if it is centered though.
Yeah, so
yeah.
What does that matter to you? I mean, Ad Reinhardt would probably make it the quilt block if you're going to be inspired by him because he likes the balance, right?
Yeah, I mean, I like the scale change, but putting it off center makes it feel less quilty. Yeah. I think it makes it look more designy and
and therefore less relatable.
Yeah,
maybe?
Exactly, and that's what I think I want
just the square.
Yeah, exactly.
Just the block, whatever.
These are the kinds of discussions, not about quilts, but that Kim and I would have all the time about when we were graphic designers. What is the essence? What needs to communicate? How do you communicate it most clearly?
What gets in the way?
What gets in the way? So it's, and this, art and design are related but different. But this project has a bit of design in it because I'm thinking of a particular recipient. So in the same way that I would as a designer. So in the same way as an artist when you're working on a commission, right? It's like you might make a different decision if it was for you or you're just doing it for your own art practice, but they have these particular tastes or interests or whatever. So I'm so much happier as soon as I look
relief,
at that.
Right?
Yep, there's relief.
There you go.
Yep.
Irene has just arrived.
Hi, Irene. Welcome aboard.
Tango is Mia, right?
Tango is Mia.
Okay, sorry. She has a question.
Fire away.
On sending your artwork to the seniors.
Yep.
Do we email a photo of our artwork or letter in JPEG and they make a real photo for the senior?
I actually don't know. I think they are printing it out, so it is a JPEG that they want.
Yeah,
I think
a JPEG. For sure.
And they in the email that I sent out last week, and I'm forgetting the exact specs right now, and I didn't print out that email. But the size specs are there, so I can't remember. So double check that.
Check the document. Yeah. Cal, can you lower the camera a bit so we can see what you're cutting?
Good idea. And I'll push it back.
Excellent.
Yeah, get it back.
Pointing that out, Joy. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Kay says, yes, the email I got after I sent mine said they would print it out for the seniors.
Right. That makes the most sense.
Because very few of those seniors are going to have printers.
Yes.
So if they're living in residences, they have limited space. And
yeah, and even if they are online, there is something beautiful about getting something tangible, right? So
yeah,
it's
less. It's more solid. It's literally more solid, and it feels more solid.
All right, so I need mid blues. So this area is all good for mid blues. Possibly anyway. That's good for dark blues.
That is just such a color delight.
Oh, it is.
And what a perfect red. It's like a cerise or something.
Mm-hmm.
Looks almost fluorescent in the context. The printing of this book is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's really quite stunning.
That's nice blue, eh?
So this stuff feels like it could be maybe a little in the dark.
Could be that.
Yeah.
We've got some blue.
Yeah, blue green. Yeah.
We have 51 people watching right now.
Woohoo! Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
That's
so
I'm always surprised at how many people we have, and humbled and honored. So welcome aboard. I hope you're enjoying it. That's darker than that, but it could factor in. It may not either. So we'll see. This.
That's good for this blue, isn't it?
Yeah. This one? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So something that I'm going to experiment with a little bit is how much of other stuff. This is a sort of a blue piece, but it's got some other blips and bloops, obviously, in white type and so on. How much of that I can get away with using and without throwing the balance way off. It might be too much, so I'll have to play it by ear. This area right here looks like it could be used for the red, the highlight part. It's not far off. And then we've got like a really nice red violet. That's quite beautiful. The sky stuff could come in handy. Is it in the ballpark? A little too not violet enough. I'll take it out in case, because it still could come in handy. Included in the blue range. All right, so I got blue, dark blue, mid blue, turquoisey, red, and I haven't found any of the red violet yet, but I'm only just getting started. I'm trying to use the trick that I always tell my students when looking through a magazine for color, which is exactly what I'm doing right now, is to flip it upside down so I don't get too caught up looking at the images and or reading the text. Because yeah, it's very easy to get completely sidetracked, especially if you're a bear of little brain like I am. That's probably too orange, but yeah, that is too orange.
Well, you use it for something.
No, I'll throw it into the pile because I might use a tiny little bit of it. I don't know how big yet I'm going to make this, so we'll see. Kind of more or less the right color, but it's more active. It's also got a few cuts in it already. Yeah. Let's see. Right now I'm going through Outside magazine, which when I was more adventuresome lad. When I liked mountain biking and all of those things, I used to love Outside magazine. It was so inspiring, and it was beautifully designed, and always with exotic locations of people doing crazy, wonderful things.
Great writing too.
And great and really well written. Yes, extremely well written.
It was the whole package.
All right, that's got tons of the blues that I can. Don't throw your knife around, folks. So I'm going to cut that into smaller pieces.
There's some blue on the other side too.
Was there?
It was taken.
Yeah.
It was anyway.
Yeah. With small
Not as
amounts.
much,
Yeah,
though.
smaller amounts. But what I think for that turquoise, what I need is either, I might find it in fashion. I might also find it in like a Caribbean,
Yes.
but I don't know whether I have any of that here, but we'll find
See
it.
if there's a CAA magazine. Sometimes they go.
Bon Appetit often has crazy, juicy colors. And so does Food and Drink. I wonder if I have one of those.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, let's see. All right. So how many people are working on this, and how many people are working on something of their own? Because some of you guys have already sent in your submissions, or you may have said, this one's not for me, so you're doing your own thing, which is totally cool. What are you guys making? I know one of you was drawing. Ooh. No, not quite.
Great colors, though. Eh?
Yeah, great colors.
I don't have my glasses on, so I'm not seeing.
You're right.
the
So
image.
Kim's just enjoying the colors with the glasses off, so that's kind of fun. It's not quite there, but it might be part of the mix, I think.
I am so tired today.
Why are you quite as tired as you are, Kim? Have you been teaching up a storm?
I was up late recording a video.
Oh, right.
Recording a video.
Yeah, so Kim has a new Jelly Jam course, which is her gel plate printing course starting this week. So she has some returning students and some new students. So she, I thought quite brilliantly, decided that she would record a little primer of a few basics for the people who were joining, so they could watch that ahead of time. I thought that was very clever.
Stacy says, I live in Oakville and my mom has been isolating on her own, so this is very near to my heart.
Right. Oh, beautiful, Stacy. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry for your mom. I'm sorry for anyone who's really heavily isolated, but you have a very personal reason to do it too, which is makes it stronger, right? So
Mira says, I'm working on the project, and I think that emoji she's using, it's like a drink, but I think it might sort of mean chilling or something.
right. Yeah, you're chilling out.
That is pouring a fresh glass of water, something like that.
Right.
Catherine says, I am using a Mexican tile design.
Lovely.
Adele sent in 4 collages, but she's doing another
4?
one.
Adele, you're cooking. Boy, that is impressive, I have to say.
Lillian says, I have been working on several pages in my journal with the coronavirus theme.
Right.
That's a really good thing to do.
Yeah. You know, where did this come up? Oh, I was looking at one of the, and I can't remember his name, I'm sorry, a Toronto photographer that I follow on Instagram. And he's been posting pictures from around Toronto since the lockdown. And I think it's a really important thing for artists, you know, whether you're journaling or taking photographs or whatever, to document this time. It's, you know, I can't remember. There's nothing like this has happened in my lifetime, anything close to it. So it's an extraordinary time. And so it's really important to, not everyone, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it's worth putting into your work in some way, I think.
Way to process.
Yeah, it's a way to process. It's the way artists process, right?
Rena says, I've sent one in already. I'm working on another now. I think it's a wonderful project that you told us about.
When my friend put me onto that, I just thought, yeah, I should do that. And then I second guessed myself because I thought, oh, the deadline's too late. And I thought, no, just got to do it. So that's why I was a little late with getting the prompt out. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought we have to do it. So
Suzanne says, my good friend turned 64 this week. I'm doing a collage for him to celebrate his birthday featuring the Beatles song.
Oh, lovely.
When I'm 64.
When I'm 64. That's great.
Kay says, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm working on. Looking to be inspired, LOL. Well, hopefully watching Cal search for colors.
Search for colors, yeah.
Because you can always just search for colors. That's,
you know, what I'm doing here, I have a particular brief in terms of the colors that I'm looking for. But if I didn't, I could still be doing this as a sort of a preparatory stage for future collages. I could just go looking, oh, that's a nice red. Oh, that's a nice yellow. Oh, that's a nice orange. And just pile them in, cut them out, pile them in, and then they become your palette later.
Yeah.
It's a little on the bluer side.
Anne says, just arrived home after a long walk. I sent in my collage to the message in a bottle group, and they were very appreciative. It's a great way to communicate with isolated people. Yeah,
I agree.
Jane says, I'm doing a landscape with my usual bright colors. Hope it will cheer some super senior up. I say super senior because I'm a senior too.
You are a super senior.
But you mean that in a different way than she's meaning it.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah. Yes. And your colors, Jane, those zingy neons will brighten anybody's day.
Sherry writes, whenever I was looking for something in magazines, I would collect images that spoke to me. I have a binder full of images. I'm currently working on a collection of COVID-inspired collages. Mira writes, you two sound like Johnny Carson and Ed McMahon.
Someone told us last week that with Kim off camera that it sounds like Paul Schaefer and Letterman, except for we're not as funny.
Well, speak for yourself.
That's a pretty nice color match right there, I have to say.
Sherry says Nielsen Park should host a COVID-inspired art show. Pitch it.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great idea. Wouldn't that be a nice way to celebrate, but also honor what's been happening when we come out of isolation? You know, hopefully we do, and hopefully don't have to go back, although that's obviously a distinct possibility by the sounds of it.
Mia says, I am looking for my art submission for an art isolated senior, but am having trouble choosing one. Always the critic. Plan B, I will ask my husband to choose something from my stash and send it off.
Right. Yeah, there's, you know, probably a bunch of you have something you could send and in reserve, like, oh, if this doesn't work out that I'm working on, I could send that thing. That's it. It's liberating. It frees you up a little bit. Like, oh, okay, if it doesn't work, this part doesn't work out, I have that one as a backup.
Joy says, I'm working on a collage for a senior, trying to make it cheerful with a message and flowers.
Lovely.
Susan says, I'm trying to do one for today to send, but I'm not always so good with the pressure. Love the intention, and I'll hopefully have something to send by day's end.
Yeah, Pressure and I have a difficult relationship because as a graphic designer, we had way too much pressure, way too much of the time. And I kind of back myself into corners now every once in a while, like today, where it's like, okay, I have to do it today.
Ooh.
That looks pretty good right there.
And also the violet.
The violet, yes. Actually, the violet's
That's
perfect. Yeah, no, and you're
first.
right. Yeah,
They're both great. Though.
No, this. Sorry, we just
found
got
the perfect page.
Yes, I just found the perfect page for a couple of the things.
The tougher colors.
Yeah, the ones I'm having more trouble finding.
Yeah.
The violet, especially.
That was a gift from the gods, right
Yeah.
there.
I was saying something else, but who knows?
You're backing yourself into a corner.
Right. Yes.
You get energized by the adrenaline, but you're also
it's also
exhausting.
Yeah. And sometimes you go to the well too often, and then there's nothing there. So
yeah, we've done that a lot. Joy says it's a great idea. Annie says, I'm working on the message in a bottle idea, but will miss the Oakville deadline.
Right.
But I have a 90-plus-year-old dear friend in a senior's home who would love one by post.
Yes, exactly. You don't have to make this deadline to be able to do the idea, right? Of sharing it with someone for whom it will matter. So
Cheryl says the connection I made to your theme was one of my favorite songs, Time in a Bottle. I'm making a personal collage with my own family images.
Lovely.
Slade asks, how do you have so many magazines? Oh, Slade.
Do you want to answer that one, Kim?
Well, I'll start. First, we spent a career in the magazine industry. Now we've gotten rid of most of those, but we still have some. And then we still have a lot of magazines from that, but just a fraction of what we used to have.
I've gone through a fair number of them.
But we also stuck them in the blue box.
Yeah. I also solicit them from my students because a lot of us don't have magazines the way we used to. Some people, so I like to show up to my actual collage courses when those things happen in person, like they haven't been, with a whole bunch of magazines for people to use. So I collect them, and what you see here is just a tiny amount of what's in the garage in various states of
violet.
This is a great violet. This is where I'm going next.
Yeah.
So we have a lot.
Yeah.
So when you take my collage workshop in person, you'll be able to benefit from it.
Yeah.
But I do worry, like 2, 3, 4 years in the future, what am I going to have? Because, I like to share it with people. I give them as many magazines. People give me them back. But, magazines are getting smaller. Smaller and smaller.
Physically smaller.
Yeah. Kim and I remember when Elle and Vogue were always an inch thick, and
remember when we worked at Toronto Life, their December issue, their September issue was always massive.
Yeah. And
just like September Vogue was traditionally massive.
And nowadays we saw an Elle magazine that was 1/8 of an inch thick, and it was like it was, for people who used to love magazines and work in magazines, it was heartrending.
It never used to be less than 1/2 an inch thick.
No.
It was often much more.
Yeah.
Joy says, I'm collating for a senior trying to make it cheerful. Or collaging.
Right, yes.
Yeah. Rebecca, I got inspired by your quilt idea, so I'm going to do a log cabin pattern. Oh, those are nice.
That's great. Yeah.
Marion says, I've done one message in a bottle collage and I'm working on another, hoping to organize a similar project for a senior's residence near me.
Is that the one that you have been singing outside of, Marion?
Mira says, "Pressure is my last name." I love it's not even her middle name; it's her last name.
Yeah, she goes by it. Yeah.
That's funny. Mia, love the colors Cal is finding in the magazines. Why did I give away my stash before the move? Oh, yes. The artist's perpetual lament, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So something I would recommend you guys check out. It's very inspiring for a collage artist. Is if you go to YouTube and Google
search
in YouTube for Derek Gores, and it's Derek just like Derek, and the last name is Gores.
Oh, he's amazing.
And there are a few videos of him working. They're from several years ago now, but watching him so free with what he finds in magazines and how he works. He has a big bucket of medium and a whole spread of magazines. He's going, oh, I'll take this, rip this, and then he's dipping his hand in the medium and gluing it down like this. Yeah, are you looking it up, Kim?
No, I'm
okay.
replying.
She's replying. It's really quite exciting.
Rena asks you to repeat the name, please. She's probably got her pen and paper now.
Right. Derek, and then Gores, Gores. He is an illustrator and artist, and he definitely has his things that he likes to do, and Pretty Women are among them. But I can't fault him too much. He does a beautiful job of it. So
well, I like pretty men, so I can't blame him. Derek Gores collage. Here he is. Looks like there are a lot of videos of him.
Can you?
Does he have a channel?
I don't know that he does.
Actually, there. That looks like it might be his channel. Yes.
So Kim is gonna give you a link.
I think the search might be a better link. So I'll do that.
I need some dark blue.
Marion says, so she had to sign in again. Yes, it's the same senior center where they distancing on Sundays.
Right, great, yeah. Well done, you. Okay, I have mid blues and dark blues, and I need to make a distinction here. I think that's that's sort of halfway in between. That's the problem. That definitely is in the dark pile. These are in the mid pile. That could be part of the mid, I guess. I'm letting my piles get jostled. I thought that was perfect, but it isn't.
Yes. Oh, no. Anne says, my starting point was a watercolor painting I had done of a series of bottles. I overlaid a printed photo of my favorite tree in High Park. I attached the letters of the message from the branches. That's lovely.
I remember that piece. That was, I saw that on the Facebook group, and that was gorgeous.
Sherry says, and the paper is getting cheaper and cheaper. Yeah, they're reducing the quality of the paper in magazines.
Oh, yes. It's actually can be very hard to glue because it's so thin. It just curls up on itself or tears or both.
And there used to be so much beautiful paper out there in magazines. Lillian says, I gave away my finds before moving to Winnipeg.
Ooh.
Many of them went to the Art Reach program for street engaged kids where I used to go to accompany them. Well, that's
yeah, that's a
excellent.
noble thing to do.
Now, at some point, you use the word medium in your sentence. Mikey has a question. By medium, do you mean glue or paint? As you know, I'm new to all this language.
Okay, yeah. So medium is the, and in this case, I'm talking about acrylic medium for acrylic paint. So paint is made
polymer
up.
Medium.
Acrylic polymer medium is what I'm talking about. And so paint is a carrier and a binder and pigment. There might be some other things, but those are the two main components, right? So you have like ground up pigment or ink or something that carries the color, and then you have the medium. And so with acrylic paint, which is essentially plastic, it's a plastic that dries by water evaporating from it. The medium is acrylic polymer, and you can buy it at the art store as medium. So it looks milky and it dries clear. And you can buy it in everything from like very like water-like consistency for using an airbrush or watercolory type effects, right up to stuff that is so thick you have to like lop it down. So super heavy gloss gel or super heavy gel all the way down to airbrush medium. Acrylic polymer medium is sort of fluid. You can buy thick but not super thick gel. And you can mix it with paint to make it more transparent or more sculptable. But in this case, Derek Gores uses the somewhat fluid one, acrylic polymer medium, as glue. And it's better than glue in some respects because, especially if you're going to see it, right? When I use the glue stick, it's on the back side of something and you don't really see it unless you get it on your fingers and get it on the surface. But with medium, that's not so much of an issue. And then you can coat it with medium entirely at the end. And it is like, if I used white glue, which can work, but it yellows, acrylic medium for painters is, what's the term I'm looking for? It dries clear and it lasts. It's more archival. So. I still need more of that blue-green. Ooh, that's promising. Pretty good. Not quite right, but pretty good. Pretty close.
Sarah says, I feel like I'm making a jigsaw puzzle.
There is a jigsaw puzzle aspect to collaging, isn't there?
Irene asks, are you choosing the colors to match color values?
I am choosing them to match both color and value within reason, not absolute, because then I would have a real difficulty finding things. But for instance,
and what's the fun if there isn't some?
Yeah,
variation?
It needs some variety. But for instance, I don't know whether I'll be able to get this close enough that you can see, but there's the little, yeah, not gonna, there's that little square that I've masked off. And this blue is actually pretty good. So.
Very good.
Could you see it okay?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good.
So I put in a link to my search query on YouTube for Derek Gores,
Perfect.
Which has a whole
range of options. Yeah.
Yeah. Tango, which is Mia. Medium question. Googling this might help. Collage, golden gels and mediums as an adhesive. Lillian writes, I remember your class, Kim, where you had us work in all of those textures. That's right.
Yes, Kim does a course at Halliburton School. Unfortunately, not this year.
I've done workshops
and some here, yeah,
as well.
Where she teaches people how to use many of the different mediums and what how they can be.
Well, I have a second course up there now, which is deep diving on transparent glazing, going deeper with that, and encaustic effects, creating the effects of encaustics
without all that.
Using acrylics, not wax. Ricky says, thank you.
You're welcome, Ricky.
Joy writes, that's a lot of sticky glue info, Cal. I would never have known that. Good to know. Irene says, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Mia says, I'm looking at my artwork from Cal's class at VAM, wondering if my husband will choose one for a senior. It is actually a collage. Cal had us paint and cut up and glue pieces back together. And Irene adds, I have taken those courses several times. I learned a lot. Worth taking more than once.
Yes.
Oh, there's that wonderful photo again.
This has some of the colors that I want in it, but I can't bring myself to cut it up until I've made a good copy of it. So this is one of those images that I can't.
You could just keep going back to again.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one that I think I might do a high resolution scan of. So I'm going to put that aside.
Yeah. I'm amazed, but we're actually caught up on the comments.
That is amazing.
Oh.
You know, I think I'm probably
You have enough of your
to get
colors?
going, and then I might have to retrofit
right.
something once I get there. Of course, it seems I didn't bring a pad to collage into. But wait,
one down there.
There's one right here.
Yeah.
Sometimes the magic works.
You got a ruler?
I do have a ruler.
Good. Then you're all set.
I am set to jet.
Excellent.
How big to make it? I'm going to make it a little bigger than my inclination would normally be, because I figure bigger is a little easier to work with than fiddly little bits. I did have a ruler, but I've then got all this collage stuff, so I think it's hiding underneath. Make sure my knife is retracted before I start moving piles around.
That's right.
To find my ruler, there it is.
Yeah.
That wasn't
good
too
instinct. There was another one in our
folder
there.
Wasn't too painful that time. All right, so it looks like it is a 3 plus 4 is 7. So it's a 7 square. That's my guess.
Yeah, looks like a 7.
And so that makes 7 inches really the easiest. But what is
like 10.5?
Is that
it's 1.5 times.
1.5 times? Okay. Just barely enough space, but that'll work. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Okay, so just arbitrary. This direction doesn't matter so much, so I'll just set that in.
Mia says she has the same trouble cutting up beautiful photos.
Yeah, if it's really great as an image,
yeah, that
copy
one's
it first.
Exceptional.
Yeah, I've cut up lots of things in my day, but if it's really arresting, I may want to use it more than once. And I may want to use it sometimes for its color and sometimes for the image itself. So last week in one of my collage classes, I asked my students to find really strong images. And someone asked, so what makes a really strong image? And I said, it's a number of things, but if you're flipping through a magazine or flipping through the internet or whatever, and you go, whoa, like you flip, stop and stare, then that's a good sign that it's really got your attention.
It's literally an arresting image.
Yeah, an arresting image, exactly. It arrests your progress. You can't just keep flipping by it.
Adele says she just finished and sent it into the Facebook group.
Oh, well done, Adele. And that's number what, 4 or 5?
Joy says, this makes me laugh. Makes me think of Peter. Time to stir the soup, Kim. And then she's put a smile. Irene says, Kim, did you tell Cal that we know he didn't give you your new hairstyle with a ruler?
The video that I watched, the one I used the most, he did use a ruler, but he was basically pointing out that the head is a round thing, so you have to change angles.
Yeah.
So there was a ruler, but it was mostly just, it wasn't for measuring, it was just for angle. Maybe side 10.5. I can't walk it. Yeah,
10
okay.
and a half.
10.5. Okay, good.
Adele writes, I also did a family collage this morning over an old painting. That's neat.
You are, yeah, that's
fire.
That's a great idea, actually. So if you have a photograph that you want to work from, you can collage right on top of it. It helps you figure out proportion. If it's a photo you like, make a copy of it, right? Obviously, and it'll stick better too. But use it as your template, absolutely, as your underpainting.
Joy says, I found an envelope with old canceled stamps with flowers that I can add for my collage for a senior. That's wonderful.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Lillian asks, how would copyright work in that case? I guess in the case where you're picking things for image.
So, sorry, who asked that?
Lillian.
So Lillian, are you referring to, you're probably referring to this one, right? Yeah, I would have to alter it enough. So if, for instance, this became a part of a much greater image that was about something more than just what this was about, and I would also probably interfere with it.
You have to interfere with it. If you don't interfere with it,
exactly.
you're not.
Yeah. So just changing the context around it wouldn't be enough. But if I messed with it, but I want to be able to mess with it and still have one to play with in future. So it's a case of, and I run into this difficulty. Sometimes I get so enamored with the image, I'm afraid to mess with it. And that's another good reason for.
And that's when I come in and stir the soup.
Yeah.
Because I'm all about the stop being precious about the image. When you're doing photo-based mixed media, when you're doing collage, if you're precious, then you're not willing to go where you need to go to make something new. And that's the point. When you're appropriating or borrowing other people's images and content to make something new, you have to make something new. If you haven't made something new out of it, then then the copyright really is an issue. And that means you have to stop being so polite about the image.
And that's something I struggle with.
Yeah.
So
we had lengthy discussions about a mixed media artwork of the cyclists, remember?
Yeah.
Because you really had trouble interfering enough. Yeah. But you did overcome it in the end.
To some extent. I needed to go further still, but I showed improvement. You
did. That's what I wrote in your report card.
Yeah. Shows promise.
Promising student.
Shows promise.
That's right. Sherry says, some images speak to you. Some images yell.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
Good.
That's well put, Sherry.
Yeah. Mia says, love Adele's submission. So I guess she went over and checked.
Oh, good for you. Yeah, I'll check it out afterwards.
Lillian writes, yes. So I guess that worked for her. Mia, wow, Joy, what an amazing idea. I have a box full of old letters from all over the world, including envelopes.
Ooh,
that's great.
Yeah, that is great.
What a treasure trove. Ricky has a question. Can arresting also mean it forces you to look closely, or should it strike you immediately? If it makes you look closely, that's arresting too, because how many images do we gloss over? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's so many images in the world now compared to when we were kids, for example.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and as designers, we used to always be, so what's going to get someone to stop long enough to notice what we have to tell them? Usually it's kind of like more high-powered stuff. So you go to a gallery and you look across the room and it's like, wow, look at that thing. I have to go look closer. But sometimes it's a quieter thing that it's not yelling at you, but it's compelling in some other way. It's like whispering urgently or something. It's like, come on over here. I know I'm not the brashest thing, but it'll be worth your while when you get here. Promise. So that's an interesting thought, isn't it? How does it do that? For instance, I think it was at AGO that we were looking at some hugely scaled pieces by Julian Schnabel.
Oh, yeah.
And they were just like
enormous,
like airplane hangar size pieces. And then I turned the corner and into another room adjacent, and it was a room of Agnes Martin. And Agnes Martin's paintings are beautiful whispers, is the best way to put it. And it felt like going from a rock concert to I don't know, like the tundra or something. It was like suddenly everything was quiet except maybe a little insect noise or a little bird call. And it was just, and they definitely spoke to me quietly. And I think the contrast was also part of it. But
context is everything, just like with color and everything else. Because sometimes the brash, it can become like an arms race, ever escalating until it's meaningless noise at a certain point.
I used to feed into the machine as a designer altogether too much, but something that drives me crazy now is when I go out into the world. Remember going out into the world, everyone?
Yeah, remember in the before time.
In the before time. But there was not so long ago when I'd go to the grocery store, and I remembered when they started putting advertising on the floors. And I just like, oh, come on. They change the packages every 10 minutes. I can't find what I'm looking for because it looks different every time I go in. They're putting advertising on the floors. There's advertising on the handle of your cart. There's advertising above your urinals in the washroom. And I just, it's too much. I have my blinders turned on so high that I can't see anything, can't hear anything, because I just can't stand the assault.
Get your rocking chair and a porch.
Yep, ready for old rocking chair now. Those damn kids with their advertising.
Sorry, I just need to refresh my drink.
Easy part's done.
All mapped out.
All mapped out. Now it's just a case of getting down to it. And so now I'm trying to decide, do I use overlaps, which I might do, to make my life a little easier, or do I cut exact sizes and place them? And I think
Use overlaps.
Yeah, I would use overlap.
Then you don't get gaps.
Exactly, no gaps, and it makes it a little easier. And what I'm going to do is get a chunk down on each that is more or less the right color, and then see if it needs additional chunks to make it a little more interesting, which I suspect on the larger areas outside I will definitely need, and I may need in the smaller ones too. So
Irene has, in her diplomatic way, put in a request without it being quite a request, that you provide a close-up view of your drawing.
You know, Irene, I was just about to do that. So it's not much of a drawing. It's just the lines that is trying to get it so it's lit. This seems to be an area where, even though we've got lots of light here, this isn't getting it. But as a designer, I'm pretty tuned to proportion. So I looked at it and realized that it was 7 by 7 and that there's a 2 by 2 outside and then 3 by 3 inside. So I've mapped that out using 1 1/4 inch squares, as Kim suggested, just barely fits. And now I'm going to work from the inside out. Lines, I've extended my lines so that, and I might have to extend them a little more so that I can paste over the lines and still see where they are. So first thing I want to do is get something that's in that ballpark, and that's actually a tricky one. That center.
The more intense one.
Yeah, this is closer to it. Yeah. So,
and I mean, you have lots of options.
I do have a few options, which is fortunate. In fact, I shouldn't have been quite that fussy. A little bit of other shots of color is sometimes better. That's something that I have to watch sometimes. And something I really admire about Derek Gores is he'll find a piece that is more or less the right color and value, but not only. And he'll lay that down. And it'll have these other little things that are aberrant, but overall it's the right color or the right texture or the right value, or all of the above. It's a little less juicy.
Looks like I need to reload. I've got a
Is it hanging on you?
beach ball there.
Uh-oh.
Just let you know it's 3:22.
Yeah. Time's fun when you're having flies.
Joy says, I love your descriptions, Cal. They leave pictures in mind.
Well, that's a compliment. Thank you. I try, but sometimes I come up completely without words, so it's good that the magic works sometimes, right? Because this is I know, especially if you guys are working along, you're only watching here and there. So I do try and not leave you with too much dead air. Keep it somewhat reasonably interesting. I tend to be the kind of person who worries a lot about whether it's the right thing and am I going about this the right way and maybe I should do it a different way. So sometimes the deadline is good for me. And right now I was thinking, oh, maybe I should. I was starting to second guess and I thought, just do it, right? It's more important that it get done than it be absolutely perfect. And sometimes absolutely perfect is boring. Not that I ever get there anyway, but trying to be perfect makes it more boring. Let's put it that way. I think I interrupted you. You were about to say something.
Well, I was just going to say, because of what you'd said earlier, that it's okay for you to have a little quiet working time.
Right. Always fight, standing up for my creative rights there.
Do you actually need another piece on there, or you're going to
So,
cover up some
so
of the
I am
blue?
going to cover this one up because what I did was I used 3 or 4 pieces that were, they're sort of the right color, but not quite. And this piece is the one that is closest to the right color. So I wanted to put it on last.
Right.
It's got a little bit of some other stuff too, and I'll let that show up. But yeah, but I want it to carry a fair bit of its weight. So. All right, so now we got violets.
Irene says it is very interesting. Will you post the final version somewhere for us to see? Don't you always post the final version?
Yes,
on the
I do.
Facebook group?
Now, last week, of course, I didn't because I never got back to it. But generally speaking, what I do is I don't usually finish during the jam because I'm walking and chewing gum, talking and trying to work at the same time. But I usually, after a little break, I come back to it, I work on it, and then I post it in the Facebook group, Irene. So definitely check our Facebook group out. I don't know whether you're a member yet. I can't remember. So if you aren't, then you need to go to the link that is in my emails and request to join. I try and look a few times a week, and I will definitely look in the next, I will look
Later today.
later today. There we go.
That's a simple way.
That's a simple way of putting it. Yeah.
Annie writes, didn't manage to make anything. Cal's morning class was brutal. LOL. Enjoyed both your commentary and company.
Oh, that's good.
Pup is whining for his walk, so be
Right.
safe till next time.
Enjoy your walk. That's a great thing to do. It's at least where I am, and you're not. I think you're in Mississauga, so maybe you're the same. It looks beautiful out right now. Some nice puffy white clouds. Nice breeze. Spring is finally here. Yay. We need a little bit of that these days.
Mira writes, thank you guys. I will post what is done. I wanted to give the idea of space and freedom when they see the message. Tell me what you think, and if it is lacking something, maybe it is too boring. It's hard to imagine you doing something too boring.
Mira, I don't think that's in your
DNA?
in your DNA. That's the word I'm looking for.
I thought that might be it.
Thank you. I am starting to lose my words now because
well, it is 3:28.
Yeah,
and I suggest you not go to.
Yeah, I will because I need to. I need a little downtime today.
Yeah.
I will go a few minutes, but not quite as long as I normally do. Because I'm going to go have a little nap, honestly, and after a cup of tea, and then I'm going to come back and put a push on to get this done.
I just want to ask you something.
Mm-hmm.
So you made this overlap more than where the line is.
Yes, because I'm going to then put the teal bits over top of those guys.
Yeah, but what about the centerpiece, which you will then have to put some more of the center color on?
I don't think so, unless...
The other way, the vertical. Oh, it's fine?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
That's all right.
No,
sorry,
it's,
yeah. Here, it looks like it's...
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm not positive, so I'm like, oh, did I make a mistake?
No, it's good.
Yeah.
No, you're fine, obviously. I was mistaken.
And I think, wow, yeah, it's interesting.
Annie says thanks. Irene says thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Marion says I'm signing off. Thanks for another enjoyable session, Kim and Cal.
Thanks, Marion. Stay safe. Keep singing.
Mia says too much pressure on Cal. Please to nap. The anticipation of the final result is exciting.
Yeah, I'm partially joking, so don't worry too much on my behalf.
Yeah, but you do need a nap.
I do need a nap.
So,
that's true.
Let's go a very few more minutes.
Yes.
Adele says, thanks for an enjoyable session. I'm also going to have a cup of something, LOL.
Yes. I might actually leave it till after my nap, so I'm not too, so I can actually have a little break.
Sherry says, first jam I've watched live. See you next week. Thanks.
Yay. Yeah, thank you, Sherry.
Rena writes, thank you both. Great afternoon. Hearts.
Oh, thank you, Rena.
Lillian writes, bonne nuit. Good night.
Right.
Susan says, thank you and take care. Joy says, thanks, K&K. Soup is ready. Then I'll finish and post the collage and send it off.
Perfect.
Looking forward to next week.
Yes. And I will post something about probably tomorrow, because I need to get it done sooner rather than later, about what our theme will be for next week. I have a couple of ideas. I just need to give it a little more thought before I commit.
Mia says, thank you both for today's wonderful session. Inspired.
Yeah, it's been fun. Thank you.
Ricky says, thank you. I'm going to have a glass of Lysol chased with Clorox. Yeah. And shine a light, Ricky. There's a light. Kathleen writes, thanks so much. Have a good rest.
Thank you, guys. You too.
Kay says, thanks, guys. Great session as always.
It really is a joy to do it with you guys, and you guys make it so worth it. So Thank you. Thank you.
Sarah says, thanks, Cal and Kim. Off for my tea and stroll.
Tea and stroll. That sounds perfect.
That sounds lovely. Jane says, thanks, Cal and Kim. Another inspirational afternoon. I just about finished.
Oh, well done, you.
Cheryl says, thanks so much, Cal and Kim. First time I've finished one during the session. Well done. She did a lot of prep time beforehand.
Right, yes.
So that was handy.
That does help, obviously.
Val writes, thanks. Didn't feel like working today, but she ended up getting 2 collages almost done.
So it's a light day then for Val, right?
That's right. She did get 5 done.
That's hilarious.
Rebecca says, thank you for a great jam as usual.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Jane, thanks, Kim and Cal, for another inspirational afternoon. I've just about finished, I think.
Yes, it's always a question, isn't it?
And Françoise says, bye. Thank you both.
Bye,
See
Françoise.
you next Monday. Thanks so much for coming, guys.
Yeah.
Really great. And I think we'll wrap in 2 minutes.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. Yep.
Still 35 watching, so there's still people.
Yeah. The hardcore is just still there.
Yeah. Joy says, giving us some prep time ahead helps. Thanks again so much.
Yes, it does. And that's why I try and get the prompt into your hands, so you guys are all on the email list. So it should be both on the Facebook group and in your inbox tomorrow, Wednesday at the latest, so that you have some time to think about it. Even if you don't do anything until you get to the jam, at least it's been in the back of your head.
Yeah.
Or if you want to gather materials or make a start ahead of time, it works that way too. So
Philippa writes, it looks great. Thanks so very much, with a smile.
Thank you, Philippa.
Now, I'm not quite sure what this one means. Adele has written CC, CCBH. So I don't know what that means, Adele.
Yeah, is that short form for something that
Yes.
Yeah.
I think there's something we don't. Oh, she says it's a mistake. LOL.
Okay, well that explains that.
That's like
Okay.
a pocket dial.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's good because we were like, is that like LMAO or?
So Mia says, bye. You should see my messy room looking for materials. Now I am looking for the senior submission procedure email from Cal. Diane Hunter. She enjoyed this. She's a friend of Adele's.
Oh,
That's
welcome.
lovely.
Yeah.
So Adele's mistake happened as she was carrying down the computer.
Right. Yes. Yes. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Been there.
Yeah.
So, Judy writes, great session as always.
Oh, thank you, Judy.
Well, it's 3:35,
Yeah.
my dear.
So this is where where I'm leaving it. So the next thing is I'm going to put in the teal squares in here using these using those pieces there, and then these larger chunks here. It's kind of hard to see them both. Will be the blues. I've got a few dark blues for the corners, so
those are the next steps.
Those are the next steps. So fingers crossed that works. I think it will. And thank you again, everyone. Over and out. Stay safe. Keep collaging. And we'll see you here next week. Kim will leave the comments on for a couple more minutes just to wrap up, but I'm going to over and out on the video. Okay? See ya.